Hey guys, it's Amy with aim.to.plan, and today I'm going to be putting together a brand new system for some of my paper files, a Tickler system. I have really been, for the past few months, really thinking that I should move to figuring out a better system for some of my paper stuff, like physical things that are being sent to me through the mail, just like other little documents that I might have that I don't necessarily need to reference in a specific, like within that specific week, but needs to be like put somewhere and kind of stored for later. And so I've just, since like the end of February, just really been thinking about how I could set this up for myself. And one of the things I decided to do was just to go back to a philosophy based on Getting Things Done, the book by David Allen. And I used to be, prior to Happy Planner, prior to bullet journaling, prior to some of the other things, and even with some of these systems, one of the things that I really did for several years was doing the Getting Things Done philosophy. And the Getting Things Done philosophy is like a huge movement in terms of productivity. And I won't spend a lot of time in this video talking about that. Although if you're interested, just let me know and I can do a separate video on some of the philosophy and how that might be tied into the Happy Planner and the disc bound system. But one of the things that we're going to be doing today is just taking one of the practical aspects of getting things done and putting it together here. And so that component of getting things done is the Tickler file system. And so just to kind of explain it a little bit, the Tickler file system, or the Tickler file, is where you basically set up a system in the pure Getting Things Done philosophy. It's 43 folders. You basically have a folder for each day, 1 through 31 of a month. And then you have 12 folders, which is January through December. So, 31 plus the 12 months is 43 total folders. And you create these folders, and it's basically a spot where you can just put physical documents. And again, not to go too deeply into the Getting Things Done philosophy, but you can actually create recurring tasks and other things that you put on an index card or a sticky note, and those things end up in these files. And so you set up the system, and the Tickler system, or the Tickler file, really is something that will tickle your memory at a future date. You're basically mailing something to yourself through your Tickler system, so that way you don't necessarily have to think about it right that second. You just file it for several weeks or several months even in advance, and then once that month or that week comes up, you can just pull it out and remember, be tickled for that particular item. And so I will, at the very end of this video, if you're interested, talk a little bit more about some very specific, like I'll actually walk you through some of my actual physical documents that I will be putting into the system. So, but the first half of this video is me just kind of setting this up and how I'm going to be doing it for the disbound system. All right, so part one. Basically, I have this Crystal Vibes cover and the clear glitter discs, and this is what I was using for my April setup, and it's very slim right now. You can see there's a couple of files still in here, just because I haven't moved them to some other places. But I was using this for April. I have since moved into my May setup, which is the Webster Pages composition notebook cover and that system. And so I had this cover and disc still left, and I was just like, this would be perfect for the Tickler file system because the colors, I mean, I just think it would work well together. So I decided to go ahead and use this for my Tickler file, the covers and the discs, and I'll take out all the paperwork, or all the papers that are in here. This is just stuff from April that's still kind of in here. And so I'll take it out in the second half again when I like actually go through my actual stuff. But I'm going to be setting up my folders. Now, one of the things I did purchase from Amazon were these kind of like clear document covers, and so it has like, it's an L-shaped document cover with like this little finger tab where you can it's basically open on two sides. And so it's closed on this side and closed on the bottom, and you can open it up in it's the L shape, so you can open it up and just tuck in documents and you're good to go. And so I bought a pack of 25, which is obviously not 43 folders. And so what I decided to do was, instead of doing 43 folders, which doesn't really work well for how I operate anyway, just because I don't have like physical documents every single day. What I decided to do was do the 12 months just like in the original system, and then I'm going to be creating basically 4 weeks, which will be, well, 4 additional tabs. So one tab will be just stuff that I haven't kind of like sorted through. It's in getting things done parlance, like it would be your inbox. So I need an inbox folder. Then I'm going to have the other three be like this week, next week, and the rest of the month. And so again, I'll kind of walk you through this when I actually go through my actual physical documents in the second half of the video. And so that's in my mind. I'm going to basically be creating 16 folders, right? So the 12 for the months, and then 4 inbox this week, next week, rest of the month. So those are the 4 folders that I need for the current month, and then the 12 additional monthly folders. And so what I brought here were these dry erase boards. This is the Faithware dry erase boards, and I'm using these basically as a template to cut these down. So what I'm going to be doing, and I'm only going to show you one folder, and I'll just cut the rest off camera, or at least speed it up, so that way you don't have to sit through and watch me cut 16 folders. But what I'm going to do is actually leave the closed side and the bottom, obviously. And what I'm going to do is put this folder here as a template. All right, and I'm going to grab my Sharpie. This is an extra fine, ultra fine point, and I'm going to basically trace all the way around. Now, if you have a paper trimmer or like a cutting board or some other thing that you can use, certainly that is an option for you, but I am just going to use a pair of scissors just so you can see that. So basically I just outlined all the way around. Again, I mean, it leaves a little black mark sometimes on the edge of the either the dry erase, like the template that I'm using, and it might leave a black edge. It does leave a black edge on the final product, but what you can do is just use an alcohol wipe and just wipe it off, and the Sharpie will disappear. All right, so I drew one. Right, and one of the things I'm doing is because of these top tabs, I'm using this as a template because it's a full-size, classic size sheeted paper, basically, and it has with this set, it has the first tab and the second tab. All right, and the very first thing I did was draw the 4th tab, so I've just flipped it this way so I can get a 4th tab. Then I'm going to do the same thing, again, making sure that my closed side is the side that I'm kind of drawing against, and I'm going to use this one, and I'm flipping it this way, and basically drawing the 3rd tab, this tab right here. I went ahead and drew the templates on these 4. So again, what I did was pull these Faithware, or you can use any dashboards, but I chose these because they are like the full classic size. I mean, I had a 1st and a 2nd tab, and what I do is just basically draw the 1st and the 2nd tab, and then if you flip them over, there's a 3rd and a 4th tab. So that's what I did. And again, it did leave like, oh, I missed a line right here, but one of them I actually drew a little bit closer in. Right, just made a little bit of an accident there, so I know that black line will show up once I cut it out. And so again, use an alcohol wipe, and you can just wipe it down, especially if you're doing it like within a couple of hours. It should be totally fine to erase even within a few days. If you're waiting a couple of months, the Sharpie marker might actually become permanent and might take a little bit more elbow grease to kind of wipe it down. So these, I'm leaving these tabs, and I use, again, my templates for that. The 12 months, I'm just going to cut out using my guillotine, like my heavy duty, like paper trimmer that I'm just going to cut down to size. And I won't need the tabs for these 12. All right, so that's the plan. I'm just going to cut out, and then we're going to come back and show you how I sort through all of this. All right, so I hope you are still sticking around to see that. Okay, I kept losing track of how many I had cut, so I had to count them multiple times. And then I found one that had a little bit of a manufacturing error. Basically, it's misaligned. And so then the very first one I accidentally cut open to be like this. It's like fully open, so I'll probably do the same thing with this folder. I have an idea for that. Since I went ahead and cut it, I don't want to just toss it. And I could do something with that as another project. I have all of these leftover scraps, so if you're thinking about doing the same thing, one of the things that you could do with these scraps are use them as bookmarks, punch them and use them as bookmarks, or you can use these as like washi sample cards, so you don't have to throw those away. So just to keep going with this project, next step, I need to punch all of these. Oh, actually. So I just had to kind of walk away from this project for a little bit because this thing is like stuck in my Happy Planner punch. And I don't know what to do with that. So what I decided to do was try to unjam it, and I'll do that at some point later. And I'll have to cut down basically another pocket folder. But in the meantime, let me just try to finish this project because I feel like this video is not going to go at all like I've planned. So let me at least try to finish some of it. So I brought out my arc punch. I love this punch. I wish it were the same depth as the Happy Planner punch, but the punches, like the little mushroom punch, this thing, this is how deep it is for the Happy Planner, and for the arc punch, there's about like it's actually a quarter of an inch that's a little bit shorter, so it looks about like this rather than the full depth of the Happy Planner punch. So I decided, even with that quarter inch being a little bit shallower, that I'm just going to leave the folders as is. This means that if I try to use these folders in a Happy Planner with the Happy Planner pages, it will hang out a little bit, about maybe like that much, and there'll be a little bit of an overhang, but I'm hoping, and I will at least initially, use this only in my new Tickler file system, so I'm hoping that it won't be a problem. And if I decide to change it up later, I still have several folders that I haven't cut down. I did purchase a pack of 25, and I didn't cut down all 25, so I still have some folders or to use for future projects. So we'll just leave it as is. I just didn't want to cut it down again. One, because my guillotine is kind of wonky right now with how dull the blade is, and trimming it by hand was taking a lot of time. So I'm just gonna punch. Hopefully this works out. Okay, so the first thing I do is, one of the things for the arc punch that I have is like a little mark here that shows me where the Happy Planner punch should go. And so I just adjust it to that little marker line. The other way I kind of double check is just to make sure that when I put it in there, that it is the size of the Happy Planner, but paper, like it's even on both sides. But I can also check it like this by putting in a Happy Planner sheet, and it's going in right in the middle of where the punches are. And so that's that. Now, one of the things that I did accidentally was I was trimming the wrong end at one point, so I just am double checking, triple checking really, that I'm punching on the correct side, the open side. And basically how this will work is that it goes on this side onto the discs, and although I can open this side, it really almost feels like it's just open on the top. And so that's super helpful. Again, I love this punch. It's just a heavy duty punch. I've had it for years, and it just punches so cleanly through it, which is a little bit different than the Happy Planner punch, which is really a little bit more lighter weight, meant for paper mostly, and not like projects such as this one. This top one right here is kind of jamming a little bit, so there's actually a sheet of paper in there that's kind of stuck in there. Let me see if I can remove that. There's a little bit of a sheet of paper. I'm going to use this sheet, just kind of get it out. Yeah, there's a little bit of it. Like this extra one fell out. Okay, hopefully that will help a little bit. All right, it's getting a little bit jammy. Right now, this bottom one is doing the same thing. All right, let's figure this one out. This one just might just be dull. I use this side a little bit more. That one came out extremely clean. These little mushroom holes fell out of my Happy Planner disc. Sorry, my punch, when I was trying to fix it a little bit. And again, I'm short one because there's one still kind of stuck in the Happy Planner punch right now. But again, just trying to wrap this up so I'm not fumbling around for like hours trying to figure this out. So I will eventually cut down a 16th one, but the 15 should be totally okay. In fact, it might work out better for me just to have 15, but we'll see. Okay, so can't lock this. Okay, locking it up. All right, now what I'm gonna do is, it's kind of messy right here because my punch is over here and I have like all of these extra little sheets, so it's still on camera. Let me just fix it up, clean it up a little bit. Okay, that's better. So basically what I'm going to do now is, again, this was the planner that I was using for April, and it still has some notes in here that I'm pretty much just going to pull out, just taking all the stuff off the discs, right? And I have just a half sheet cover in here. I was actually putting this in here because it was kind of a physical note to myself that I had a project that I wanted to kind of do with these. And again, this is why the Tickler system is going to be so fantastic for me, because I can now store it in a Tickler file instead of in my actual planner. All right, so what I'm going to do is just pop these on the discs. All right, forgot to punch these. Oh no, I didn't have that go in deep enough. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna have to redo this. Look at this. I punched it, like double punched it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Again, this project is like becoming like just all sorts of wonky. Again, it's a little bit of a jam. All right, this really jammed this time. I'll have to fix that one. That one did not come off at all. I'll have to see if this goes on the rings. Yeah, it still goes on, alright, so I'll just leave that at that. Alright, so now my count is I need a new 4th divider and a 12th, like, non-tabbed one. Alright. Okay. So let's just keep doing this again. Like, this video is all sorts of a plan B, plan C, plan D. But anyway, I'm gonna put this in here. All right, I'll even put the 4th one in here just to show you what it looks like, but just keep in mind that I will be redoing it and just creating a new one just because this one is messed up. All right, so, but I'll put it in here. It still actually goes on the disc, so maybe I'll just, I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it. Okay, so this is the stuff that came out of my April like planner, and I'll use a couple of things just to kind of show you what I'm thinking would work. The way that the system operates is you can leave it where it's kind of static, but I actually like physically removing the folders and kind of moving it so that way the very first thing is in the front. And again, that might change up because it's on discs. It could be just easier just for me to flip to the next one. But when I was using the system at work, I used manila folders, and it's just easier just to take the entire folder, take everything out of it, and then put the manila folder in the back. That might not be necessary with it being on rings on these discs. So we'll see how, again, that might be something that I'm kind of shifting with it being disc bound. But when you're doing it, like, again, in the appropriate, like, official version of it, what you will do is have this system in the front, and what you will have immediately following it is going to be the next month. So this is May, so that means that this month would be June. So you'd have June, July, all the way through, and then once you get to December, it just rolls to the next month, and it would be January, February, March, April, and May. All right, and it pretty much the very top thing is the most current, or like the thing that is like that current date. Okay, and so that's just kind of how it operates. Now for these tabs, again, like for the original system, it would be 1 through 31. And so if today's date is May the 5th, then it would be 5 that's on the very top, and then it would be 5, 6 all the way through 31, and then 31 would start over, and you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, for me, and everyone has their own kind of like preferences for it. For me, it's easier for me just to go all the way through 31, and then 1 through 4, if it's May 4th, May 5th, the 1 through 4 would go after the May tab. Not the May tab, the June tab. So that way you would have basically the days from whatever date it was all the way through 31, and then the next month, and then all the dates that have already passed for that current month. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just kind of how I used to do it. And again, I don't think that with it being disc bound that I'm going to be shifting things around like that. I'll basically leave it in the folders and just flip to the current date, if that makes sense. So let me just show you some examples. I'm not going to pull like everything that I need to put in here, and I'll just kind of show you, like, this is actually fairly slim right now just with the folders. And in fact, I guess I could have done all 43 folders, but once you start putting paperwork in there, it gets a little bit bulky. So I think that this will be, like, with just like the 16 folders, it will be more manageable for me. And again, I just don't have that much paperwork, so we'll just see once I start filling it up. If it becomes where I can have the room to put 31, the official version of it is super helpful for me to be able to file. And so instead of having this week, next week, or like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever system I decide, just having every single day, and that way you can just file for that specific day. So let me show you what this looks like. The Tickler file is meant for like physical documents or notes to yourself on things that you're not really wanting to do anything about right this second, but you want to kind of like delay an action on, or just want to consider later. So there are just certain things that occur at certain times, and you just don't want to deal with it now. So a couple of examples for that would be, one of the big ones for me, Christmas cards. Okay, so I obviously, like, for the past 3 years, because I didn't have a Tickler file system, I just forgot to send out Christmas cards. And so one of the things that I would do here is basically file my Christmas card. Like, this is a physical like Christmas card. It's not the one I'm going to use, but it's just a Christmas card, and I'm going to put it in November. Now, again, I know that I'm short of a folder here, so November will be this very last one, even though it's supposed to technically be the second to last one. And I'm just going to put it here in November, right? In fact, what I'm going to do is run and grab some stickers so I can go ahead and label these months, and that way you can actually see it. Okay, so I grabbed this sheet of Happy Planner like dates. This is from one of the memory keeping sticker books, and I'm going to go ahead and just date the months here. Again, knowing that I'm short one, and I will cut that one down later. What I'm thinking will work is just putting it right here in the corner. Super simple, and it'll just denote the month for me. June right there. That was gonna throw me way off right there. Right, April. Right, I love this system just because this is a place outside of your planner that you can just store these things. And my plan is just basically to have this sitting on my, like, where my family command center is, and every day I would just kind of, well, not even every day, especially if I'm doing it only weekly, it'll just be every week. I'll just go through every week during my weekly review, just like when I set up for the next week, just go through here and see if there's any paperwork that I need to pull out, and that's pretty much it. And once it's that current week, I actually like to go ahead and like punch things and put it straight into my planner. That one's a little bit crooked, I think. All right, I might fix that. Slightly crooked, but I like just to be able to go ahead and put it in straight into my planner, so that way I can deal with it for that week, right? And like, I carry my classic size planner everywhere with me, and so once it's that week, I can just like carry that stuff with me, so I'm constantly reminded of it, right? And again, I'm missing December, right? So this Christmas card goes into November. I'm putting it in November because that's when I like to go ahead and start planning out my Christmas cards. I get Christmas card addresses and things like that together. And I start early in November, so that, or at least in years that I've actually sent out Christmas cards, I do start in November, so that way it doesn't creep up on me in December. So this is pretty much, again, a physical file that I put in here just so I know in November that I want to start thinking about putting together my Christmas cards. I have a couple of other things, and again, this is like real life. These are actual things that I have. I have this little thank you card here. This card is from a student, and next academic year, which starts in August, I will be planning to go up for promotion. And so part of my promotion package, like they actually ask for things like thank you cards and things like that. I have this at home with me. I was carrying it back and forth, and again, it's because I didn't have a Tickler file, so I was carrying it back and forth with me, and now we're at home with the quarantine, and so it's just kind of been moving from planner to planner. It went from my March planner to my April planner. It was in there for all of April. I didn't do anything with it, and now I decided not to move it anywhere for May. I'm going to put it in the Tickler file. I'll put it with August because this is my note to myself, again, a physical reminder that I need to take this out when I go back to work in August, when we return back to the office, and put that with my work stuff. I also have here like this little note to myself with like some random notes down here, but basically these are notes, like work things that I need to do for summer. And again, this was just kind of going with me from planner to planner as I switched from March, April, and May. And so I decided just to go ahead and put it in here. And again, this is for summer. Summer semester doesn't start for me until June. And so I will put it here. In fact, it starts like not June 1st, right? So I'm just going to stick this note in here for June. And this is a great way of kind of like making notes to yourself. So you might actually have like a physical thing that you want to have, but there's something that you want to kind of plan for in the future. And so instead of writing it into your planner or pre-planning on sticky notes in your planner, which might make it a little bit bulky to carry around with you, you can put it in this Tickler file system and just kind of put it for yourself in the future. Now, as I'm paused here, one of the things that I kind of was talking about a little bit earlier is that it's May now. And so one of the things that I could do, and again, I'll do it now, but we'll see how it goes, is that you would basically move these months, January through April, into the back. So that way, when I'm flipping through it, if I'm doing week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, or however I do it, once I get to week 4, I'll have June as the very next month, and I'll know I need to pull out all the stuff here and then kind of file it into this set, the ones with the top tab. And then once I take everything out, I can move June and then go to my July tab for the next month. So it's kind of like this rotating system as you go through. And again, I don't know if it makes sense, but that's just kind of how I've always operated with the Tickler system. I don't really have a ton of other things to put in here that are like viewable on video. I have a lot of notes to myself that I actually need to pull off of my some of my other notes and things like that. But this classic skinny cover, I was going to do a project with it, but then I talked to my sister and she said that she wants this, and so I need to like kind of keep this for her. One of the things, again, like this is just kind of me talking you through how I do this, is you can have a section of like things that are undated or like things that you don't necessarily have to take action on, but you want to be reminded of it every once in a while. And so that's what this tab was for. And again, I might change it up, but I'm thinking of just kind of putting it here in the front and just leaving it there in the front. I'll put it on the rings actually, just so that way every once in a while, like once a week, when I go in here to check if I'm going to see her that week, I can say, oh yes, I need to like take that for my sister. And there are a couple of other things that I need to take with her. I'll put on a sticky note just right here on the front and just say, hey, these are the things you need to take with you when you go to your sister's house. And so that's there. And again, I don't have like any plans to see her in the next month or so, and so there's no place for me to store it in terms of date. Some of the other things that I just have to pull some of these pieces of information. It has personal information on it, so I can't kind of put it in with you, but you have doctor's appointments. So if you have a dentist appointment and you went ahead and scheduled an appointment for 6 months from now, you can go ahead and stick the card straight down in there. It's not something you have to note in your planner. You can just put it into the system so that way you have a place to store that physical reminder to yourself, and then once it gets a little bit closer, you can go ahead and pull it out and then put it in your planner. So it's kind of pre-planning, but with like, instead of writing it in your planner on sticky notes or something else, you're writing it here or just putting the physical reminder in here. You can also put bills, things that, you just received a bill, but you don't necessarily want to pay it right that second. If you want to pay it a little bit closer to the deadline, like if the due date is 3 weeks from now, you want to put it in like about a week out, so like 2 weeks later, and just kind of file it in there. Or you might just have other things that you have to do like every few months, and you might not necessarily schedule those things. An example for me is oil changes. So I get my oil changed, and it's a certain date. I will kind of just put on a sticky note or an index card that I need to go 3 months from now. So if, for example, in May, I go get my oil changed, June, July, August, in August, I can put a little note to myself that I need to go ahead and schedule another oil change, right? So there are certain things that you already schedule and you can kind of like just put the physical reminder there. But if you don't have the physical, like something physical that you got from the doctor's office or from the dentist, then you can make your own physical reminder. And so you just stick it in there and remind yourself that you need to do these things. And I think the system works great. I have been missing this in my system, and things have just kind of like been falling through, and I've forgotten certain things because I don't have this. And I do have, like, for example, my list for like an actual list of like the last time I've done certain things, but those lists are a little bit too big and there's multiple items on there. So I'd rather have like one item per sticky note or per index card. And so that's what I'm doing with this system. And I didn't really have that much. I thought I had a lot more to kind of put in here just to show you how it works for me. But as the weeks come up, as each week comes up, I will kind of pull it out. These like whatever's in here, I'll pull it out. If it can happen that week, if it should happen that week, I will go ahead and put it into my planner. If it doesn't need to happen that week, I can delay it and just move it to the next folder. And that's just kind of how it goes. And as you put things in here, these are things that are dated. It could also just be things that you want to think about. I've seen people who, with especially the Getting Things Done system, and they're completely analog, they'll write inspirational quotes to themselves and stick them randomly in here, so that way as you're going through you can kind of like pick out, and as part of like all the tasks and things that you need to do, you can also like get these messages to yourself. And so it's, I think, a really nice system to kind of have. And I still need to decide what I want to do here, and I think I'm gonna go the route of actually week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Okay, so I finally pulled this to the side, pulled all the notes that I had kind of lying around in my house, and decided what I was going to do for this. So I wanted to just make sure that I got on here to show you the final product and kind of talk you through what I'm going to have for this, which I'll show to you, and then also what I'll be putting into my planner, so that way I can kind of remind myself of the fact that I need to check this. So just to show you, I basically decided for these 4 tabs at the top that I would split them up by days. So it would be the 1st through the 8th, then the 9th through the 16th, the 17th through the 24th, and then the 25th through the end of the month, the 31st, or whatever day is the end of the month. So I went ahead and labeled them with the date, and I also put a big number here in the corner. So these dates came from the Planner Basics. This one came from Mini, and I think this is in the regular Planner Basics as well as in the Mini, but I'm not quite sure. So I think it's both Classic and Mini for these tinier, little smaller numbers. And so you can see those here, and then you can see in the back here that I have the 1. So it's 1 to 8, 9 to 16, 17 through 24, and then 25 through the end of the month. And so what I've done is basically put in notes for each kind of little span of 8 days. And so just as an example, I won't be able to flip through all this. Again, there's some personal notes in there, but basically I just stuck them in here. And then when the 8th comes around, basically the night before the 9th, the 8th, I'll just go through here, pull all these things out, and kind of like put them into my planner, where I can access them and kind of do things with. Now this very front thing right here is like a little mini pad, and I'll actually show this to you. This is not actually going to be pulled out for the 9th. This is just a small little book that I got at a planner conference, and I'm just going to be writing notes on here. So instead of using sticky notes, I'll be just kind of ripping pages out of here and just kind of jotting down things that I might not have a physical reminder of, but I want to just kind of think about in the future. So just an example that came to mind as I was kind of putting this together is that I want to go ahead and start thinking about Sophia's birthday party, and planning what she wants to do for her fourth birthday party. So I'll basically pull out a sheet, and I really talk with her about it so that way she can kind of help me with ideas for things that she wants for themes and things like that. And so once she starts giving me some ideas, I'll note them on a sheet of paper and just stick them in the month that her birthday is. And that's just again, this is just scratch paper, so this one is actually in the front. I could probably have a better system, but I just stuck it right here in the front so that way it's there. Okay, so this is the 9th, right? And again, there's some personal stuff like tax information and stuff like that. And I stuck this in here because we have not filed all taxes. We definitely need to do that. Luckily, we got the extension. But anyway, so that's that. I went ahead and pulled this from my April planner because this was in my April planner and I didn't want to transfer it to my May planner. And so I am using this here just to like add that extra piece, and I'll eventually do something with that. But this was just actually meant to kind of separate the days without paperwork in here, just to show you some in the future, although there's not very many. There are several months that don't have anything in here, so September and October, for example. And so if you don't have anything kind of separating or behind it, you can pretty much see straight through to the next thing. I actually like that. I really like being able to see the very next thing. So even though I don't have anything for September and October, I can see what's the next thing, which is November, my Christmas cards that I put in earlier. But if you don't like that, one of the things that you can do is just kind of separate with a sheet of paper, or what I did here with a page protector, and then you won't be able to see through it. So you'll just be able to see August. So that's just an idea that I had, and I was just really, I didn't know where to stick that. So I just stuck it in here, and I left it where it is. Where did I put it? After August. So it doesn't really matter. So it just can kind of go around. So between the end of, basically between the clips, I did talk to my sister, and we are going to see her sometime mid-May. She has a couple of berry bushes behind her backyard, and so I have that that I'll just put there. She told us to come kind of in mid-May, but then she also texted us and said that some of the bushes are kind of already giving out fruit, like she picked some raspberries today. So anyway, I'll go sometime in May, and so I'll put this here because I'm thinking maybe like the 17th or sometime that week. And then also I have like this paint sample, a can of paint that I need to get to her. So it's a physical thing, but I can't put it in here. So just to show you what I do, I basically just use a sticky note, put it on here since I know that this also goes with her, and I'll just put it right here so that way when it comes time, I'll know to pull this for her. And so the paint, the cover, and it'll just go with her instead of like having to forget it or putting it somewhere where I might not remember it in the moment. Then there's nothing in the 17th through the 24th, and then here's the 25th, and what I actually have are some things that I need to like kind of file and put into a different system, like filing system, and I always do that at the end of the month, right? So I put this in here in the end of the month just so I can handle it at the end of the month, right? And then I put this here with just some extra notes. Again, that's stuff for the end of the month, but because I already had that in its own little folder, I just stuck it back here. Right, then it goes into the months, and most of that I filed on camera with you earlier. But just to kind of talk you through what I did, so I'm like doing this like beginning of May, and so I've already, like, in fact, there was nothing in the first through the 8th, right? So it was completely empty, and because I mean, if I had something, I would have just done it or like put it into my planner. So there was nothing here, and so what I decided to do is just basically do what I mentioned earlier, and that's kind of to rotate through these tabs. And so the very next set is going to be the 9th, and then once I get around to the 9th, I'll take everything out of this folder and just basically pull literally everything out, and probably leave this, not leave this in the 9th, but basically pull everything out, and everything behind it too. So there's some things that are just a little bit bigger. So everything here goes out. The things that I plan to do the 9th through the 16th, I'll put into my planner, but things that will not be done 9th through the 16th will be moved into the 17th, right? And so example would be this little tiny book here, which will go into the 17th. And then once this folder is empty, basically I literally take everything out, right? This would go out too. And then this book, since I'm not using it in my planner, would go here into the 17th, right? And then this folder, which is now empty, gets moved basically past June, okay? And so June is right here, and it would just be filed here. And that's how it goes. Okay, and so you can do it like that. One of the other suggestions is maybe not to file it behind the month itself, and you could just leave it where it is, like just behind each of these tabs. So it just goes 1 2 3 4, 2 3 4 1, 3 4 1 2, 4 1 2 3. But I'm deciding to do it behind June. We'll see how it works. I don't know. Again, it's a work in progress. We'll see how that goes. But essentially, that's the setup for right now. And the way it works is that's how it goes. When I have the 16th come around, I'll take everything that's in here, and there might be things that are added as we go through. I will decide whether it's going to be done during that 8-day time period, or if it needs to move to the next folder. This folder will then be empty. I will move it to the back, and then this will be at the top. All right, and so that's kind of the system. Now, this entire system is going to be sitting on basically my planner center, and it's on like a little kind of stand, so it's pretty much open all the time. Although one of the things I did decide to do was it was open, and I actually left it out just for a little bit, just to kind of see what it looked like, and I did not like it. And so what I'm going to do instead, and let me actually take all this paperwork and put it back in here. All right, so I have all the stuff that goes in the 9th. And I was doing that just to show it to you, but it needs to go back in the front here. So I'm going to put it back here in the front. All right. And so what I've decided to do is basically leave it with the rest of my planner stuff. And what I'm going to do instead is create little sticky notes. And these are the sticky notes that actually go into my planner. And what I'm going to do is actually write 4 of them. And over time, as I get used to the system and as I remember that I need to reference my Tickler file, I'll just get rid of these, but they will say the exact same thing. It will basically say Tickler file, basically check my Tickler file that I just set up right there. And then it will have the date. Now what I decided to do was I actually found these punches, and they were super cute, and I was actually just, again, trying to clear out a lot of my organizational stuff and found these. And so what I'm going to do is actually punch the numbers in instead of writing them in. Of course, you could just write the number, but I'm just being a little bit extra right now. And so what I'm going to do is right here, punch 1. Actually, I have to do this upside down because I can't see where the number goes. All right, so this says 1. Then I'm going to do one that says 9. Already can see here I smeared like the pin marks. Great job, me. All right, and then here is 9. All right, for that. Then the next one is 17. All right, so I'll do a 17. Oops, that's 15. Just a little bit of mixing up of these numbers. Okay, 17. All right, and then the last one is 25, right? So then I'll punch 25, and these little sticky notes right here will go into my planner. I'll actually stick it on the date, like 25, 9, 17, or 1, and that will just be my reminder that I need to check my Tickler file for the next 8-day kind of period. And so that's what I've got going. I'm so excited about this system. Like, this is going to be like super helpful for me, because I have been just kind of like carting around all of these papers, not all of them, but a lot of them in my planner, and it was extremely thick. You can see how thick this is, and like just those few things. And I mean, there are things in here like manuals and stuff like that. Of course, I don't carry that around generally speaking, but I didn't really have a place to store it. And so now I have a place to store it. I know what I'm going to do with it. At the end of the month, I'll like figure out a place to file it. Of course, I can file it now, but I don't. You know how it goes. So anyway, I have it in here so that way until the time I file it, I can just leave it somewhere where I know where it is and can reference it if I need it. But if I don't need to reference it, it's going to be in here until I'm ready for it. And these 4 stickers, which are the 4 tabs, 1, 9, 25, and 17, 1, 9, 17, and 25, those are the tabs that are in this Tickler file at the very beginning, right? And so that's how it goes. And once I get to the very end, 25 right here, I know that one of the things I'll need to do is go into June as well and pull everything out of June and go ahead and put it into the weekly 1, 9, 17, or 25. And so when it's 25, I'll go ahead and do June as well. So it's just every 4 weeks I go through as these weeks come up, and then once the new month comes around, I just pull out all that stuff too, and go ahead and sort them into their appropriate weeks. And so I am super pumped about this system. I hope it works out well for me. I will probably give you an update at the end of summer whether the system worked for me, and just kind of talk you through like my entire summer setup, and some of the things that I did in terms of combining and changing things up. But if you do have any comments, please do let me know. I'll try to answer them through comments in the meantime. And again, super excited about this system. I'm super excited to try it out, to see if it works for me. And I will definitely give an update at the end of summer. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. And in the meantime, see you.